I've now interviewed entrepreneurs, athletes, leaders, creatives, men and women from completely different backgrounds, different industries, different life experiences, different levels of success. But what surprised me the most, it's not how different their stories are, it's how similar their struggles are. Not similar, but actually the same. When you listen deeply enough, not just to what people say, but how they say it, you start to notice the patterns. And across my podcast, I've heard the same internal experiences repeated again and again. Different people, different lives, same patterns. When I sat down with Libby Cook Black, what stood out wasn't just her success, it was the internal pressure she carried alongside it. The expectation, the standard, the sense that she always had to show up at a certain level. With Jamie and Fraser, there was a deep awareness around identity. That so much of what we do is driven by who we believe we have to be, not necessarily who we actually are. With Chip Dolan, completely different background, but still this thread of responsibility, pressure, and internal expectation. And with Holly Bailey, there's strength, real resilience, but also the reality of navigating identity through challenge and what it takes to keep going. Different lives, same internal experience. Proving one of the most consistent patterns I see is proving. I felt like I had something to prove to parents, to themselves, to the world. And here's the problem with proving. It works, it drives achievement, it creates success, but it also creates pressure. Because if your identity is built on proving, you can never stop. You don't arrive, you maintain. Over responsibility is the second pattern. And the second pattern is responsibility. And this one is everywhere. I was the one who held everything together. I was the one people relied on. I couldn't let anything drop. And again, this builds capability. It creates strong leaders, but it also creates a life where you carry everything. And eventually that becomes completely exhausting. And it leads on to the third pattern, and that is the loss of self. The third pattern is quieter, but it's the one that really matters. It's the moment where someone realizes, I don't actually know who I am outside of what I do. They've built success, they've created impact, but internally something feels missing. And the hardest part about that is they can't explain why. And the truth, and this is the part most people don't see, these patterns are not personality traits. They are identity decisions. At some point in life, consciously or unconsciously, people decided, I need to be this way to succeed. I need to be this way to be safe. And I need to be this way to be valued. And those decisions become identity, and the identity runs everything. So the consequence, that's why the same struggles keep showing up. Even when everything changes, new business, new relationship, new level of success, some internal experience, because the identity hasn't changed. And eventually, the identity that created success becomes the thing that limits it. So when I look across all of the conversations I've had on what I wish I knew at 30, this is what I see. People don't get stuck because they lack ability. They get stuck because they outgrow the identity that built their success. And the hard thing is no one shows them how to rebuild it. And that's the work that I now do through identity architecture. If any part of this resonates, if you've ever felt that quiet tension between what you've achieved and how your life actually feels, you're not alone. You're just ready for a different level of work. And the first step is seeing clearly. I'll link the identity audit below so that you can go in there and you can do the audit and we can talk.